All right. What's going on, Mike? Welcome back to another episode of the Buffalo Happy Hour.
Absolutely, Derek.
We are joined by two amazing guests of the Southern Tier Distilling Company. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Go ahead, Chris.
I'm Christine Buechner, and I'm Ross's friend, and I am the head of tours and operations up at the brewery. And so I'm here because I've known Ross for quite a long time, and we met at a round table event, which is just a bunch of brewers and bartenders and people getting together every Wednesday to hang out and talk beer and booze. And so I contacted him because I thought, well, I know he's an awesome and super smart individual and that his spirits are fantastic. So I wanted him to get on this podcast.
For sure. Super smart, for sure.
I don't think I can live up to that.
We'll start small.
Yeah, for sure.
I am Ross Seeley. I'm founder of Southern Tier Distilling Company.
Great.
So,
Awesome.
let's go.
Congratulations.
For sure. So what made you start this distilling company, and how long has it been live for?
Like I said, these barrels behind us are 4-year-old bourbon. So we've had stuff in the barrels for 4 years. We've been going hard for about 5.5. So, in other words, getting the distilling system from Germany set up and in operation. So,
Cool. That's really cool. Were you either of you associated with Southern Tier Brewing? Because I know for me and Mike particularly, we haven't heard of Southern Tier Distilling before really being in contact with Christine over there. So were you associated with the brewery? How did you get involved with it?
I was actually a big part of the brewery. That's how I got started here.
Okay.
I met Finn DeMink, I want to say 17, 18 years ago, and did a ton of welding for him. On and off throughout the years, stopped working at the place I was working out of West Falls, and he said, come on down to Southern Tier, I'll hire you full time. So I kind of made a career there and decided I really wanted to get into distilling, which, fast forwarding to your original question, why did I get into distilling? I love making anything I can. You know, a lot of people like brewing. I feel the brewery thing was kind of too inundated at that point, and everybody was doing it.
Sure.
So I started distilling at home. And since I was a sanitary welder, I made 3 little stills myself, and each one became more sophisticated. By the third one, I was like, wow, this is... Anytime you make something yourself, it's the best thing you've ever done. You know, if you build a house yourself, it's better than having somebody else build it for you. So I like working with my hands. I love the idea of distilling, so that's kind of how it all started.
Awesome.
And then you mentioned that for your background, which helped you build this, you spent how many years in the Air Force?
I was in the Air Force for 4 years.
Okay.
Yes, this is going to date me hard, but that was from 89 to 91. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I was in the first Gulf War. A lot of people, when you say the Gulf War, they're thinking of several years ago. That's not the Gulf War I'm talking about. Was it your girlfriend or his that just said she was born in 89?
Yeah.
So yeah, that dates me pretty far. But yeah, that's...
Right.
And there I was a propulsion jet engine mechanic, and I was very good at it, so I had a propensity to be good with mechanical stuff, and that's when I really kind of found my niche in life, working with my hands and doing the stuff I wanted to do.
Very nice. Okay. That explains it.
Yeah. So, what type of whiskeys do you have to offer here at Southern Tier? I know that we have a flight of whiskeys that we've been trying, and you've been nice enough to let us try some of the stuff that you're going to be putting out soon. But can you give us an overall view of what your whiskeys that you're putting out in your other your other spirits?
Absolutely. So when we founded Southern Tier Distilling Company, when Finn and I sat down and kind of drew it up, our whole goal was to get into brown spirits.
Okay.
I mean, we have a vodka that got a gold, and we're proud of it. You know, a neutral grain spirit, there's just not a lot of romance for me personally. Brown spirits are different in the fact that it's grinding grains, it's putting it in a barrel, it's charred, it sits for a long time, there's a huge chemical reaction, and then you have the oxygen and the rotting of the wood. There's so much to it, and you can't cheat it. Sure. Other places have tried to cheat it. So that's how we started the whole company, is through brown spirits. So to get to your question, is we have bourbon, obviously, and we have a smoked bourbon, which when we say smoked, we don't mean there's smoke in the barrel or anything, because people get confused, and I wouldn't know either. So when we say smoked, it's a smoked cherrywood malt along with a chocolate malt like you'd use in a porter or in a stout.
Okay.
We have an American whiskey, which you guys saw how we char our own staves from Ellicottville. It's a pretty neat process. In fact, you saw Fresh Tank. How dark is it already?
Absolutely. Very sweet.
So you know there's a huge vanillin reaction, within a week. So it's, what else? We have our single barrel bourbon where we take one barrel, pour it out. Unfortunately, we would like to put any type of ABV on that bottle, but we have to check with the TTB and the SLA first. So we have to make it at a certain alcohol, which is 116. Otherwise, we would have differentiation every month when we do our single barrel, but we've decided we are going to make it 116 proof. So even though it is a single barrel, we either have to take the alcohol down a little bit or up a little bit to create what we do. What else do we have? I think that's it.
Gin.
Well, as far as brown
Oh, we're
spirits,
talking brown
yeah.
spirits.
We do have gins. We do have vodka.
The 2X.
Yeah, we have the 2X whiskey, which we, as we said in your tour earlier, that we get from the brewery. They make the wort. We bring it down here, finish the fermentation process, distill it, and also put it on our hand-charred staves. So.
Sure. So now, for everybody listening, where can you buy your products? Are they local to the area, or are they still in
I
stores?
believe we're in 9 states now. So we're getting out there, looking to expand that also down to Florida at this point, and Tennessee and Michigan. So everything's kind of in the works. We're at that stage right now where it's kind of, when you make good stuff, sooner or later people hear about it.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
I did skip one spirit, of course, our rye.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
and our rye and our bourbon are at least straight. Same with our American whiskey and smoked. Everything's over 2 years now, so.
Sure. Cool.
Yeah.
And then Christine, what social media platforms are you guys on as well?
So Instagram, Facebook. I mean, really, we are kind of broad spectrum on that. And there are a lot of opportunities to not just come here to drink, but there are events that we go to around the state.
Yeah.
Where you can go and do like tastings and things of that nature as well.
Sure.
What was the largest tour that you've done since you came here?
The largest tour?
Yeah.
Well, we have a cap on tours, but generally, generally speaking, we can do up to like 35. We just try to split that into two different groups
Sure.
when you're coming down. But the tours do run on Saturdays. You can come for a tour on Saturdays here at the distillery. And you can get to see all the backstage stuff that's happening. The nicest part, yes, that's right, with the cast. Don't worry, the cast is not part of the show. Although I can make it be a part of the show.
She gets really drunk on her tour.
Extremely intoxicated.
That's right. As the captain of fun here, that is one of my job titles. It's not on my business card per se, but everybody does know that about me. Sometimes we get a little out of control. I am the tour mistress. That's true. But yeah, you can come down, and it's nice to get to see what Ross has done. He actually has created, when he's talking about the staves and the American whiskey, that's his own design. That's something that he has brought that other distilleries do not have,
Sure.
Which is, I think, pretty awesome to be able to say. Not just that, one of my other favorite things that he's done here is there's the water, what would you call that? The
cooling system?
The cooling system.
Yeah. Don't bring me to a standard I can't live up to.
I'm just saying. I'm here to boost you. I'm here to give you the cred you deserve that you won't say yourself.
She's earning her job title. Let her earn that.
But it is really neat to see
She's
what they've
grasping
done.
so hard right now.
No.
He's really good. I don't know how. Hey, Ross, what is it that you did was good?
That is untrue. I know he's really good because I just drank. Well, I'm drinking right now, obviously, but
Makes the arm feel better, doesn't it?
It does make the arm feel better. That's reason enough to drink Southern Tier spirits. My arm feels better than it's felt all day.
There you go.
Perfect. Free market. And then, Ross, can you touch on our beautiful centerpiece?
Oh, well, I'm an avid bow hunter, so I was helping my buddy look for his deer, and I found this sucker, which is what I really want to get, but I didn't. I found it in the woods. If I have to bring it out and somebody else did the killing, that's
Right.
okay too. So.
So just touching on really quick about your location, I know that when we were driving over here, you stated that people don't necessarily know 100% where this place is. So can you just explain really where you are in relation to the other Southern Tier and also just in the state where you are?
Absolutely. So we are on the same campus as Southern Tier Brewing. If you pull into our driveway, basically, instead of turning left to go up to the brewery, you're going to just go straight, and we are not even a football field away.
Yeah, about a 9-iron.
Nice.
Yeah, about a 9-iron is great.
Perfect.
I mean, for my buddy, it's more like a 3-iron.
Yeah.
But yeah.
For Mike, it's more like a driver.
Yeah, I would I would definitely be a driver.
This is just an interesting historical fact here. That the distillery is now housed in the same area that the original brewery was.
Oh, really?
So Southern Tier was in this building. Now, I will say Ross has made this look incredible and beautiful, and it's just a completely different look than it used to have back in 2007.
Well, in between the brewery and the distillery, it was a storage facility.
Okay.
So it was pretty rough.
For Southern Tier products, right?
Yep.
Yes.
That's correct.
Because right down the road, again, as we were pulling up, there's the distribution center for Southern Tier, correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, it's its own little compound, like you were saying.
Yes,
That's pretty
there's
cool.
72 acres here that Finn bought to, be able to grow and expand as the brewery and now distillery needs. But yeah, we're right on the same campus, so you can go up to the brewery, you can come right to the distillery, and we're open on most of the same day. I mean, now the brewery is open 7 days a week now. That's a change recently, but we're open until 10 down here on Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Thank you.
It's nice too because the decor is really homey. You walk in and it's comfortable. There's barrels everywhere. There's TVs to watch whatever sports game is on and or whatever else you guys choose to put on. And then the bar staff is extremely friendly and knowledgeable. So the message is consistent. You mentioned that they do flights of spirits, which is something that I really haven't seen in other places. And then the trays are really cool too. They're nice wooden touches. But you mentioned, I don't know if she hit on this yet, but we also do flights of spirits, and then we were all nodding like, yeah, we obviously we went through that, and then you're like, okay, cool. So everybody's preaching the same thing, which is really nice too.
Well, the first thing I said when you guys came in for a tour is this is a working facility.
Right.
We don't have another room where we can make stuff look fancy to take, and like, oh, here's the top end of our tanks. Sure. No, what you see is what you get, and it's, it's kind of salt to the earth facility. We do the best we can with the amount of space allotted. So.
Yeah. So do you want to touch on the new stuff that you have coming out?
All right, so actually tomorrow, Monday, we will be doing the tastings for our Bottled and Bond. If you're a whiskey or a bourbon fan, Bottled and Bond is a 4-year-old bourbon. It is bottled at 100 proof. It has to be distilled in the same facility. There's a lot of stipulations from the government on how to make it. We are there now. So our first stuff 4 years ago was early October. We're into, what are we, 3/4 through October right now. We are doing a sensory tomorrow. My business partner Finn will be down here. My distiller Patrick, Nick, Carrie, our bar manager, they'll all be here. We'll be doing sensory work out of these 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 barrels, and we will come up with our first Bottled and Bond. It's a landmark for us. We've been kind of waiting for this day for a long time. So it's a big deal for,
It's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, it keeps getting older, but Bottled and Bond is that's legitimate. That's where we want to be with our brown spirits. And it will be fantastic. Did you guys test all the barrels today by chance?
Are we allowed to disclose that information?
Yes, of
are we allowed
course
to
you
disclose
are.
that?
So for
you guys,
everyone listening, we did.
it was
we
a
did
little
get a
hot.
taste.
It was probably about 122 proof, but
Yeah,
it was still pretty good, wasn't it?
It changed my life.
Yeah.
It makes me want to come back.
That's what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
It is amazing though, because when you put it in as White Dog, 4 years ago, you're in a different place in life 4 years ago, and you put it in, and you have no idea if your hard work is going to come through and become what it is. And then tonight is the first time I tasted out of that barrel also.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And so when you taste it, and we were talking about tasting notes and sensory work about that shoe leather or candied apple or what. There's a lot of descriptions for whiskey tasting, and you're like, I can't believe something can do this on its own with the white oak and the char and the types of grain we use from New York State. It's a pretty amazing process. And
yeah, that brings up a good point. So when you're thinking about introducing a new whiskey or a new bourbon, how is the planning process? Because clearly you just stated 4 years ago you had to start making this determination. So really what makes your what's your planning process for introducing something new?
Well, the first thing we did is we had 2 types of bourbon recipes. See, I'm a huge wheated bourbon fan, but as you grow and the more bourbons you become familiar with, you realize you probably like all bourbons. In other words, George Dickel, which isn't a bourbon, it's a whiskey, but it's basically a bourbon, is real heavy in rye. So you taste that and go, well, I guess I do like this. So you start comparing all these tasting notes and realizing I kind of like it all. So you have to figure out what you like. I am a wheated, heavy wheat bourbon fan. So the 2 bourbons we have are medium wheat, and then we have a recipe that is heavy wheat. So sometimes we blend them. It depends on what the barrels taste like and how we want to blend them. So,
Sure.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a spectacular bottle of bourbon.
Absolutely. If it's anything like we tasted, it definitely
Yeah.
will be.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh,
you
I
guys,
just thought it was good.
you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I
Absolutely.
mean, just smelling the barrel itself, just hitting the sensor of your nose, the olfactory, you're like, wow, it just hits you. You know there's a ton of, what's the word I'm looking for? A ton of character in the spirit already.
Yeah, I mean, just smelling that bunghole, you definitely got all of it from there.
I was
funny.
hoping that was coming up.
When I started the tour and started talking about smelling bungholes, you guys all resisted.
Except for me. Except for this guy. I was all
By
about
the end of the
smelling
tour, everybody seemed to be smelling bungholes.
That's right.
Can you explain to everybody what an actual bunghole is
Well, this is
in
a
the whiskey
bunghole.
world?
This would be the bunghole.
So for those who are listening on Spotify, the bunghole is the actual cap, per se.
Well, it's the bung. It seals up the hole.
So it's the piece that seals the hole in the barrel. So when you expose that, and then the barrel's exposed to the world, and you smell it, you're smelling the bunghole.
Right.
So
Which could have other meanings, but we'll
Well,
keep it
you
at
know,
that.
that's
Well,
like the Beavis and Butthead when you're 13.
Obviously, years
you know,
ago,
it's-
people ruined the meaning of bunghole
Right,
because
sure.
this has been going on for thousands. Barrels are thousands of years old, believe it or
right,
not.
right.
So where do you get your barrels from?
We have 4 major suppliers of barrels, and we've narrowed it down to 2 of what we think are the best. Those are Canton, which are from Kentucky, originally from Canton, Ohio.
Okay.
That's why it's called Canton. And then we have ISC, International Stave Company. And they are the world's largest barrel manufacturer, period, throughout the world. And they are really good barrels. So we've narrowed it down to 2 brands that we know we can trust and use, throughout our...
And they're all white oak, right?
Yep, all white oak. All number 3 char.
Sure. Cool. Great. So just kind of transitioning a little bit here, we have a segment in our podcast too where we like to talk about cocktails because some people don't necessarily like to just have whiskey right neat because it's just not for everybody. So I see both of you have some ice and some stuff in your drink. So what would be your favorite cocktails involving whiskey that you would normally go to?
Of your products,
Yeah,
specifically.
for sure.
When you so
I know we opened a
let me
can of
make
worms.
this really let me answer this question and boil it down. When you go to the dog kingdom, what's the first dog? Is it a wolf?
Yep.
To me, when it comes to bourbon drinks, the first cocktail is an old fashioned.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like. And I hate to simplify it that much, but when you get a really good old fashioned, it highlights bourbon. On a side note, I really like Sazeracs. It's a more basic, simple, sipping drink, I guess you'd call it.
Okay.
And it's also supposedly America's oldest cocktail, originated in Louisiana. I love a good Sazerac, which was originally made with brandy, and then they ran out of brandy or cognac and turned it into a rye drink. Sazeracs are pretty good, but old-fashioned is really hard to beat when it comes down to it. It's
Sure.
just hard to beat. It's just an amazing, perfectly balanced drink.
Absolutely. What type of your whiskey would you recommend to go with one of those?
Bourbon.
Just your bourbon?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Christine, your turn.
I definitely agree with what Ross is saying, for sure. But I will say that one of my favorite drinks here, especially in the summertime, is the corn whiskey, and they do a moonshine lemonade with it.
Yeah, that's
and
pretty
this is
good.
one of my favorite things about the bar here. Everything is like a fresh squeeze. So you're getting everything. It's fresher and more delightful on the palate, right? So the corn whiskey, that fresh squeeze of lemonade or the lemon, and then just a little simple syrup. Like, to me, that's the perfect way to end a shift here. I come down, I sit at the bar, I have a nice
Sounds like a habit to me.
Only the best kind of habit.
We won't classify this anything other than that.
That's right. No, but it's a nice. I just think that's it's a refreshing, like something refreshing that I wouldn't normally make for myself at home.
Sure.
But it's something that I would come here for. And I do think another thing now, besides just the drinks we have in hand, but I do think it's awesome that we're doing canning here now. So there are canned cocktails and canned seltzers coming out of the distillery. So we have a vodka madras, which is kind of like, I always think of it as a vodka fruit punchy type of taste. There's the bourbon smash. We have the gin and tonic. And I'm normally not a gin fan. I'm really not until the citrus gin from here. This is like the first gin that I've really thought didn't taste, just like I'm chewing on a pine tree. So I do really appreciate that. And then we have our vodka seltzer too. Those are all 8 to 10%. You can get those all over the place now. But we just did a line of the seltzers, so think Truly, but better.
Sure.
And ours are made with the vodka from here. So that's what's different. Like a Truly or a White Claw, they're like a malt beverage.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So ours are not. They are our vodka. That's why we can't sell them just like, let's say, at Wegmans or whatever.
Sure.
But we have several flavors of those now, and another whole bunch I think are ready to roll out. So there's a blood orange, a watermelon.
Yeah.
What am I missing? 2 more.
Black cherry
Thanks.
pomegranate.
Yep. Why can't we think of this one?
Because I've been at a cabin for
yeah,
3
that's
days.
right. And it's I have a broken arm. That's what I'm going to blame myself on that too. But
But when you were in that cabin, what happened?
I've been pulling these out of the woods.
Yeah.
but the seltzers, once you cut that part out, but really, it is nice to be able to have. And they're like 4. The seltzers are 4%.
Oh, mango
4.5.
peach.
Oh, thank you. That's
Mango
what it
peach.
is. Mango
There
peach.
it is.
That was a moment. So did I, though.
Awesome.
It happens.
I didn't know when I was drinking at the bar that you guys were going to want me to perform.
So it's a funny story.
It's like,
I
oh
asked him-
yeah, they're
performance,
going to do
yeah.
a podcast now. I'm like, what?
Yeah, he's halfway through his first drink or second drink, and he looks at me and he's like, "Is this a today thing?" And I'm like standing there going, "I mean, yeah." And then he goes, "All right," and then just takes another swig. I'm like, "Dude, we're just gonna do it. It's gonna be fun. Don't worry about it." It's the Buffalo Happy
Only
Hour.
because you're in the military.
I appreciate that. I'll use that card whenever we can.
It
No
works.
problem. Yeah, whatever.
I was like,
works.
son of a bitch, I'm about to cry. He was in the service. And,
The Bills are on.
yeah, the bills are on.
right,
America.
I love it.
These two are back there laughing their asses off.
Yeah,
We need a guy to pan the camera around there.
we do.
Pan the really average cell phone around the room.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, the wives of the Buffalo podcast
Right.
are here.
Yeah,
That's
so
what's
the
happening.
housewives of Buffalo Happy Hour
Yeah.
are the
Yeah.
company
Oh my
is
God,
today.
they're going to have a special by next year.
Yeah.
They'll be competing with the
Yes.
Kardashians.
They will. They're going to have their own
Better than the
The
Kardashians.
wives of the
Yeah, way
Buffalo
better.
podcast guys.
Yeah. Our first 2 subscribers. They always give
First
us
2
one
supporters.
like.
Yep.
I tell you what,
love
I
us.
guarantee you guys get at least 60 to 70 likes within the next month.
Nice.
I appreciate
that.
that.
Absolutely.
I'll cheers to
I
that.
made that up. I mean, there's no way it's going to be that high.
Even if we get half, that's all that matters. Remember, we're not as scientific as a brewery up the road.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right. We're
I
more
told
savage
you,
down
we
here.
are rough and tumble down.
Right. Very much
Heavy on the
more.
rough.
Jeez.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah, really. I went off the rails, but we love
That's
it.
all right.
Never talk
right.
about vodka seltzers again.
Sorry.
No, we don't want to talk about vodka seltzers.
So what else would you guys like to highlight about your distillery? I mean, this is really your hard work, and we really want to bring light to this area over here. So if you had to name one thing, what would you like to highlight?
I'd like to highlight that I think it's awesome that Ross and Finn took the chance to do this, jumped into it, and have really created something that is not only an exceptional product, but a place that feels very family oriented. And I mean that everybody here cares about one another. Everybody is really trying hard to do their very best to not just because push a brand, but because they believe in Ross and Finn and the distillery itself. Yeah, I do mean that. So, I mean, that sounds kind of
No,
like
it is. No,
silly,
it is.
but I do
Southern
mean that.
Tier is definitely a family for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can tell, I mean, just by the walkthrough that you had with us today, I mean, you guys are really taking a personalized approach to all this, and it
do.
really shows in your product.
I know. I really wish I would have known you guys were running a podcast before I got all crazy and dirty joked.
That's what makes it a family. Dysfunctional,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
a family.
No, all joking aside, we do try to stay humble and make everything, like I said, salt to the earth. Everything we do down here is the hard way, the right way. I feel like I'm redundant because we already went through this tour, and I honestly did not know I was doing a podcast today. But even down to the grain, when we say it's 99% New York State grain, it is. And the white oak from Elkville is, it's all right here. We don't need Kentucky. We don't need all these big names. We're doing what we do the best we can.
Sure.
And, I think it's turned out pretty amazing, and I think we're going to set a new trend.
Absolutely.
We're not looking lateral or behind us. We're looking ahead to do our own thing
Right.
and kind of pave a new way and maybe discover some new things that other people haven't done.
Sure, absolutely, good point.
Like get drunk during a podcast.
There you go.
That
That's
would
right.
be-
Get drunk to the podcast. But I think that really encompasses our message as well as for Buffalo Happy Hour because it really highlights the family feel, the down to earth, the hard way, and the right way.
Right.
Because the easy way is cheating.
Right.
And all of Buffalo in general is really the family feel. Let's just stick it out, go through the suck. We'll all get better because of it, and then we'll just make it work. And that encompasses our overall message because really it's just nice to work with you guys and collaborate with you guys to bring more attention to what you're doing because it's just, to have that presence is huge. Everybody has had your beer all around Buffalo, but now that people can know that they can come here for even more spirits, it opens up more opportunities for you, and that's the intent. So it's just nice to actually knock it
Yeah.
out.
I appreciate you guys coming down here, honestly.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I really did not know.
This is the fourth time he's mentioned he's had
Yes.
zero
I
idea.
feel
Clearly
like
didn't
I
wanna do
did
this
text
today.
that,
She
but
probably told me that.
I
but
definitely may have mentioned
This is
that.
this is
I usually don't try to surprise everybody.
This is a
but-
pre-rut in hunting season for bow hunting, so this is kind of my passion, and I've been heading in the woods for a while.
Coming out of the woods and talking to a
I
microphone.
did. I came straight from my cabin this morning. I did take a shower though,
There you
and
go.
trust me, you
Perfect.
would have known if I didn't.
Much respect. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, good.
But yeah, I mean, I used to. So there's been a lot of different things for me to do. Starting a distillery, we'd all like to think, oh yeah, I'm gonna start a distillery. I'm gonna make this great liquid, and everything's gonna be great. But the truth is, you have to do a lot of things that you're uncomfortable with. So I used to sell up in Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, all the way out east, and it's a pretty kind of hard place to live. I mean. That's why on our bottles it says, "Why the hell not?" Because people are like, "What? What are you crazy? What are you starting a distillery down in Chautauqua? Like nothing, This is a tough place to live. The winters are hard. It's hard to make money. You have high taxes, but if you see through that and you kind of go for it and you put your chin down and push ahead, you get good things, and that's what we're working at. And it's finally coming to fruition now. We're getting recognition through the ADI, American Distilling Institute, and everything else, and it kind of feels good. We're not resting on our laurels by any means, but we're getting there.
Sure.
Can you speak on what awards you've won thus far?
We'd have to go in the bar because there's quite a few now. I seriously.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
fine.
if,
You can highlight top, top
probably
3 or 4.
the biggest award is our bourbon.
Okay.
We got a golden bourbon. That's real. When you get into brown spirits, you're in a different category. You're competing against Kentucky. Kentucky kills it. They've been doing it for since America was founded.
Right.
Right.
So when you get into brown spirits and they work well for you, and your hard work pays off, and the liquid in the barrel finally comes out, and it's the right thing, that's huge. And that's kind of where we're at. And I think we're going to show that in a couple of weeks when our bottled and bond comes out.
Sure.
I think so too.
So what have you done for the labeling portion of that new product?
As far as labels, you mean like advertisement? What do you mean?
Yeah, like what's actually going to be on the bottle.
Well, we have the new labels. They're on my desk.
Oh,
And our brand ambassador, Nathan Arnone, has the labels completed. We've already got the orders in, the box labels, the bottle labels. So, I mean, you guys are more than welcome to look at them.
All right.
We can't put them on video. I'd have to kill
Sure.
you.
no, it'll be separate. But
Nate is
so what's the
fantastic.
process for that? So does who basically comes up with that first idea, and then who's the Oz behind the green screen that actually blesses it off, if you can?
Oh, the labels?
Yeah, just for the
so,
labels. But
well,
again, feel free to not answer
no,
these
that's
questions.
that's fine. So,
Okay.
like I said, Nathan Arnone is kind of our. He has a lot of hats to wear here, but he is good at making labels, making designs. He does a lot of design work, but he can also do sales and promotional stuff. He and Finn worked on the labels for the Bottle and Bond.
Okay.
So my founding partner.
Sure.
Okay, and then yourself and Finn are the final bless off that he has
Yep.
to get approved for? Okay.
Exactly.
And it's something to note too. You're not only the logo, but the labels that are on each bottle do stick out. Recently, I just went to a local store for a bottle of whiskey, and then I picked up your 2 Times Hop, and my buddy bought another bottle from a distillery in Rochester, and I looked at theirs compared to yours, and it's nothing against them. It's just when you're blasted with so much information at once, looking at a huge shelf of all these different options, and yours do stand out. They're bold, they're in your face, and they're like, this is what we're offering. This is the name of it. This
Thank
is what
you.
it is.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think
It's
what it
nice.
says is they go through the extra work.
Yeah.
Right.
To make it right. Because labels, unfortunately, you could put a really world famous bourbon in a clear bottle, but it wouldn't matter, would
Sure.
it?
Right.
So if you don't portray that with the label and make it a really good brand, it's tough.
Absolutely. I think it's important when you're looking at a broad spectrum of different options to have one key note. So if somebody, who's not as familiar, but they know that they are sent to the store, or the only thing they want to drink is Gentleman Jack, they're going to look for the word gentleman, and they're going to put blinders on to everything else. But more times than not, sometimes I do it. Like, I'll just go and pick up a quick bottle of Jameson just for mixed drinks, and then I come home and I'm like, there's more stuff that I needed, but I didn't think that I needed it until I got home and actually looked at what's on my shelf. So then, the next few days I'm back in the store. Everyone thinks I'm an alcoholic. It's a good time. And then I go back to the same shelf and I'm just browsing. Then I go with a different lens. And then now, since this podcast, it's actually pretty interesting to see. I'm very keen on who's local and who's not. So I know who's Kentucky, and then I know who's Buffalo, and I pretty much only care now about who's Buffalo.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at more labels through a better lens, and it's pretty cool to see. But yeah, it's a wild experience for sure, because now you're looking at, for Southern Tier, you're looking for the word either tier or just the first part of South, and then when you see it on the overall circle of the logo, you're like, okay, that's what I want. And then once you identify where it is on the end cap, then you're only looking for which of the products you want.
Yeah.
Then you run into that issue because every product tastes amazing.
Yeah.
So now you have to actually make a decision. So then I start sweating. I'm flipping out. I don't know which one I want to buy.
Well, you know what the
Just you buy them all. This is like when we got to that.
Right.
We got to an intersection on the way here, and I didn't say go straight. It was that 5-way, and he was like, "Where do we go?" And I was
Yeah,
like,
too many
"It
options."
all goes to the same place."
Yeah, way too many options.
the solution really is just buy something with Southern Tier on it.
Yes, yeah, that's
There you
true.
go.
That
It's
is
good.
We
true.
can all drink to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Love it.
Cool. All right. So, do you want to kind of wrap this up?
Yeah, it's been a half an hour.
guys-
Hold on, I have a question for
Absolutely.
you
Go
guys.
for it.
Shoot.
So I haven't given a tour in a long time.
Okay.
What did you guys think about the tour today?
Dude, it was a lot of information.
It was a lot of information.
Was it too much?
No, you're great.
No.
So Christine prepped us on the way over by saying that you're a genius. So when
My
you started,
exact words.
when you started
I'll
explaining,
tell you
your
what,
whole-
you give someone $1,000 and for the rest of your life, you are taken care of.
I appreciate that.
Not even $1,000. Ross and I met, like I said, a long time back. And it was, he wondered who I was. I don't want to go into the whole story, but Ross at first was just like, who is this girl? And I have finally won him over. That's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, my overall thought was you were very thorough. And I think that from at least the distilleries that we've been to, people will give you the overgeneralization of what generally happens in this area. But you went from tank to tank, back to the other tank.
Right.
And
Well,
really
the
told
thing
us.
is, there's some Mondays I don't make it into work. I figured if you guys could come down to distill, you know, if you can kind of handle things till I get here on Tuesday.
I love it.
That's good.
But yeah, so
That is awesome.
The tour was phenomenal. Just to finalize on what we were briefed before we got here was it went from Ross is a genius. He did all the welding himself. He's a really good welder.
I didn't say any of that stuff.
I
this is Christine.
did.
This is
I
Christine
did.
to us.
That's
This is
behind your
Christine to
back.
us.
I said it.
Finn's gonna watch this and have the biggest eye roll
Oh yeah, absolutely.
history of. There won't be an emoji with an eye roll big enough. He'll be like,
So it went from he's a genius, he did everything almost himself, to he did it all himself, to he's a super genius.
to
And then-
stand-up comedian.
That
Yeah.
stand-up comedian,
Yeah,
exactly.
to stand-up comedian. So then we walked in, and I'm like, this guy's gonna have hair all over the place, mad scientist glasses on. He's gonna have welding boots with the metal tarps over the the tassels on, and then you walk around the corner, and you're like, this is it, boys. Let's go for a tour. And I was like, well, let's learn about everything,
Yeah.
and then we did. I mean, it was a really, really comprehensive back to front to back.
I'm glad
tour.
you guys enjoyed it, and I made you have a deer head.
And we got a deer head.
But
Absolutely.
seriously, thank you guys both for letting us come here and really do a tour.
Thank
and
you
taste
guys. Are you
everything.
kidding
We really
me?
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
What an
Thank
awesome. I don't know why
I know,
they
high
weren't in the
fives,
video
high
though.
We can bring him in.
Yeah.
Should we bring him in?
We should. Come on.
No, they're both shaking their heads
they're
no.
both shaking their heads.
So-
they're not ready.
So really, thank you guys again. Again, follow Southern Tier. I don't know why I just blacked out there.
That's all right.
Follow Southern Tier on all their social media accounts. They have a great partnership with their brewery, and they do even better spirits. So really, thank you guys very much.
Appreciate it.
Hey, let's go get a
thank
drink.
you.
See if the Bills won.
Let's
All
do
right,
it.
yeah, really.
Let's do it.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you
Alright.
guys.